All right, so yeah, if any time during the panel you want to ask questions, just let me know. We got this. I've been selling at conventions since 2015, and I currently do convention vending full time. I started by doing anime conventions mostly, and now I mostly do like pony and furry with some anime. So I've also been making vlogs for every convention I do since 2020, right before the pandemic, of course. It's partially so I can look back on the fun times, and also like convention vlogs make a great resource for people. So like if you're ever interested about a convention or vending at a convention, there are probably like 10, 20 vlogs on that convention. I highly recommend watching them because you can kind of see like what to expect, where to go with this one. I know a few times there's been ones I've been curious about. I watched a vlog about it and noticed there was like not many people there. I'm like, okay, that might not be the one for me because I have to travel far for it. So definitely recommend that. I also have a YouTube channel with my vlogs on it, and this panel, I guess, will be on there. It's just Hibiscus Stitch. If you just look up Hibiscus Stitch, you'll find my YouTube channel. Let's see. So if you want to vend at a convention or just learn a little bit about convention vending, that's awesome. And you can absolutely do convention vending. Like anyone can do it. If you have something that you want to create and you do art or you do music or you do writing, you can vend at a convention. My first ever convention was Ichiban Con 2015 in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my table was very small. I just had like 6 cubes, some plush on them. And I had like, that was pretty much it. The other half of the table was just me sitting there looking at everyone. And yeah, most people for your first table, you won't have very much. There's very little. For your first convention, I really recommend doing something in driving range that's low cost. And that way you don't need a hotel, or if it was somewhere you were gonna go anyway, you have friends to stay with. Like try keeping your costs lower just because at your first convention, you're probably not going to make the most money. Some people do, but a lot of people just make like costs, or they'll make like a little bit. I think at my first convention I made like $800, so you know, not very big, but still, you know, enough to cover the cost and everything because we just commuted back and forth. And so a lot of people for their first convention do not make very much. And then of course, if your home is in a bigger city, you may have multiple conventions to choose from. If not, then you might just have like 1 or 2 local ones. So for most people, the best place to start is a local convention if you have one. And a lot of local conventions are usually either a Comic Con or a small anime con, but that might not be something you want to do. So there are different types of conventions. So I'll go ahead and quickly go over some of the main types of conventions. That way you can kind of figure out which convention type you might want to do. So there are, first of all, anime conventions, which are dedicated to the celebration of Japanese culture and media from anime and manga, video games that take place, you know, Japanese creative video games, and kawaii culture, very cute chibi things. You'll of course see overlap with popular Western cartoons and games, especially lately. You'll see a lot of like Has-Been Hotel and Owl House and different things like that. But generally they are dedicated to franchises that originated in Japan. These conventions are extremely popular, especially since anime has become very accessible lately, especially with like streaming services like Crunchyroll, and they're more mainstream now. Here, people are commonly looking for fandom merch of various anime or Japanese games. They're looking for like chibi things. They're looking for, like if you're doing a vendor booth, they're looking for like Japanese snacks, Ita bags, different things like that. So a lot of that is Japanese focused. Then there is Comic Cons. Comic conventions are cons that are dedicated to celebrating comics and the artists and writers who make them. So commonly you'll find comic artists signing books they've worked on and booths selling comics out of long white boxes, with comic movies making comic heroes more mainstream. There has been a lot of growth and change with the comic convention scene, and they tend to err towards the side of families attending together for the most part. The exception for like San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con, which have become more just like media conglomerates, just advertising like new movies and things like that. But for most of them, they have become just like a celebration of everything comic and superhero, and they become very family friendly. A lot of families go to Comic Cons. And then there's furry conventions. We all know what furries are. They're a celebration. The furry cons are a celebration of fans of anything anthropomorphic animal characters, as well as the shows, books, movies, and games that those anthro characters are from. And then also furries have a huge art scene because a lot of furry is the art. It's a lot of people making their own characters, getting art of those characters. The fursuits are works of art too. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into those things. So furry conventions have a lot of art involved with them. And if you want to go to a furry con, like a vendor at a furry con, the big advice is to attend one first, because there is a big culture with furry, kind of like Bronies has a big culture to it. Because we have like our in-jokes, we have our like ponies that people like and everything. So it's kind of the same with furry. Furries have their own culture. So you definitely want to like attend a furry con, or at least know about furry culture before vending at a furry con. It will really help you have a much better time. And so the next type, there's only 2 more main types. There's other types of conventions like gaming and everything, but these are like the main type ones. We call them autograph mill cons. So those are like GalaxyCon, Fanboy Expo, Wizarding World, those type ones, because those are the ones that are getting like 80, 90 like different celebrities, for like everyone from like the toddler to like grandpa has someone to get an autograph from. And those are cons that are interested in making money. They're kind of like the Walmart of conventions, basically, because like they're trying to make as much money as possible. So there's going to be a ton of vendors, there's going to be a ton of autographs, and so for a lot of those cons, the artists and the dealers are kind of secondary to the celebrities. A lot of people are there for the celebrities. Autograph mill is not the technical name for that. That's just what a lot of vendors call them, because it's all about getting the autographs. And so because people are paying for autographs, sometimes people don't have as much funds for like the art and the dealers and everything. And then brony conventions, that's what we're at right now. These celebrate My Little Pony and the fans of My Little Pony and all the memes and art and creations of those fans. There is an overlap with bronies with other Western family-friendly shows that appeal towards adults, such as Bluey and Owl House, and other horse shows. Maybe Wild Manes will take off. To have the best time at a brony convention, you do need to have majority pony art. I know a lot of people will do like 50-50, or they'll do majority like their own original stuff, but bronies want the ponies. And I will give that advice like to a lot of people. Make sure you have pony art. That way you will have the best time, the attendees will have the best time, everyone's gonna have a good time. But yeah, you want to make sure you have pony art to do a pony con. So for me personally, I prefer furry and brony cons, and I also like to do anime cons because I do like anime. So those are my favorite ones, but yeah, those are just some types of cons. One of those might be the best one for you. Usually it's whatever's local, but yeah, if you have one like type of art you do, like if you're a furry artist, you might want to focus on doing a furry con. All right, so another thing to know is what you will be applying for, if applicable, artist alley or vendor hall. For the majority of cons, artist alleys are for people like us, artists who would make our own products and art. And vendor and dealers are considered those who search for and buy things wholesale, like trading cards or anime figures, or like Japanese snacks, and then they sell those there. Some cons will split up people further into like 2D art and handmade, or 3D sculpture, plushie art, and they'll call those craft fairs or crafters alleys. This is common at autograph mill shows. They like to split it up and also charge crafters more than artists. Yeah, they're all about making money at the autograph mill shows. Most pony cons will have a vendor hall only, which is for everyone. Trotcon is one of the only pony cons that has an artist alley as well. And the main difference there is the table size. Furry cons also have where everyone is in the vendor hall, or the dealer den, as they call it. But they also have an artist alley. It works different there though. It's pretty much come and go. Some of the bigger cons will have it like where they lottery spots. Hello.
How you been?
I've been good. We're doing my panel because the room wasn't open.
Yeah.
So their artist alley there doesn't cost anything, but it also has a lot of restrictions. Usually it's like a 3-foot table or a 4-foot table, and you're usually sharing your half of the table with someone. And then it's only about like taking commissions. You can sometimes sell some of your like merch, but they'll only let you have like maybe 1 cube high or 2 cubes high to like display stuff on. And by cubes, I mean those like little buildable grid cubes. Those are like the most common artist alley supply. And art really powers the furry community, so that's why they have that, because people want to get art of their characters. So you can make a decent amount of money in the furry artist alley, but there are restrictions. Just, whatever con it is, check the rules. For more specific questions about convention types, you may want to join a convention group where you can learn more and look up resources to see what they provide. So some of the ones that I use, the most popular one is Artist Alley Network. It used to be a Facebook page, but now it exists solely as a Discord chat. It is the prime place for Artist Alley information, especially when applications are open, times applications are open, and like just so much information and resources. And this Discord is invites for the Discord are not always open, and there are very strict rules, and you'll need a portfolio to join. Yeah, come on in if you want.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, the room wasn't open, so we're just out here. But yeah, that is Artist Alley Network is a great resource, but it is very curated. It can be harder to get into that one. And then there is the Facebook group that kind of took the place for Artist Alley Network when it stopped being a Facebook group. It's called Artist Alley Friends. That one's on Facebook, and it has a lot of resources. It has opening times. It has people asking questions, setting up displays. That also has a Discord group for the Artist Alley Friends, but it's not very active. Also on Facebook is WAVE, W-A-V-E, or We Are Vendors and Entrepreneurs. It's a place for mostly vendors to talk about cons where vendor and Artist Alley heads aren't allowed in, so people can be a little more like in depth with their questioning. They can be a little more like asking some questions they wouldn't want to ask if someone was like watching. For pony specific cons, there's the MLP vendor server on Discord that has a channel for each currently running PonyCon and is the ultimate pony vending resource. Highly recommend it. It's a great place to like ask questions, get resources, and also just find out when the cons are opening applications. And a lot of the con heads and vendor heads will communicate in there. Also, for any newcomers, this panel will be on YouTube. That way, if you need any resources, if you want to like look back on it, I'll have it up there. And then on Telegram is where most furry cons will have like a channel for vendors. There's a few other vendor channels on Telegram for furries. If you ask around, Anthrocon has one that past and current vendors are invited to join specifically for talking about Anthrocon vending. So yeah, there's a lot of different furrycon resources on Telegram. I don't know all of them because I'm not super involved with furrycons currently, but yeah, there's a lot of resources there. And I'm sure there's others that I don't know about, but those are kind of some of the main ones. All right, so costs. This is, that was enough of an overview of all the different con types, so I'm sure you'd like an idea of where you'd like to start. So let's get into some specifics about costs. Conventions can be expensive. There's a lot of cost that goes into it. Gas, hotels, business cards, food, your badges, manufacturing costs, fabric costs, subscription fees, parking fees. There's a lot to consider that goes into it. And it can be overwhelming to think of everything as like a conglomerate whole. So I'll try to break things down into more simple categories. And don't forget, save every single receipt for write-off purposes on your taxes. Every single receipt. It's better to have too many receipts than too few. Okay, so the most unavoidable cost is the table fee. This often will include your badge, but not always. A lot of furry cons don't include the badge in the table fee. And also, if you have a helper, you may have to buy their badge. Sometimes some of the tables will include a helper badge, a lot of them don't. And usually you're able to get a badge for your helper at a discounted rate. And you will need the vendor badge because if you want to get in when the vendor hall's not open to the public, you will absolutely need a vendor badge to do that. You feel so VIB too when you're walking by and you're like, here's my badge. So for most tables, I found that they usually are in the $200 to $400 range. Autograph mills can hit like the $600, $800 range. Those ones are expensive. So definitely make sure that is a con that like you really want to do, or is like your local one before you go to it. It can be expensive. Did you have a question?
I was waving at my sisters.
Oh, okay.
Everyone.
Hello.
Sisters, everyone.
Weird. Have some additional caffeine. I didn't realize I had caffeine.
Yeah, caffeine. Let's go. Okay.
I found caffeinated dark.
Do a caffeine section of this?
Yeah, it's a hydration time. Let's hydrate.
We can grab more chairs if you guys want some.
Cheer. Yes, let's get.
Why are you still on the floor?
Yeah, it's like kindergarten. We gotta.
Still good times.
Yeah. Make sure you pay for everything in your allotted time. Usually they give you a time frame, like you have 2 weeks to pay for your table or your table is forfeit. So definitely make sure you pay attention to time frames, mark it on your calendar, or just pay right away when you can. A lot of people, if they're doing another convention, will wait till after that convention to pay for the next one. But yeah, make sure you keep your time frames in mind. You may risk losing your table. And some people do split this cost down by sharing a table. And when you do that, usually each person gets like 3 feet of the table. Most tables are 6 feet. And they'll get like 3 feet of the table to do their little setup. And that way you can save some cost by like having the table cost split in half, especially for the bigger, more expensive tables. Now with those, a lot of cons have rules about table sharing, so make sure you read the rules. Sometimes you have to apply together as like a studio, sometimes you each have to apply individually and both get accepted to get your table share. So just make sure you're aware of the rules. And the second most unavoidable cost is how to get to the convention. For those doing local cons or who are fortunate enough to live like in a bigger city, that could just be gas for your car and parking. A lot of times when you're parking, there are parking fees in the parking garage. If you want to try and like mitigate some of those parking prices, you can use the app Spot Hero, and sometimes it'll help you find like cheap nearby parking. And some cons will also offer parking discounts. For others, you may have to rent a vehicle, which I do for longer travels, like 4 to 7 hours, just to save the wear and tear on my aging car. And also, I have the benefit of renting a vehicle with like more space, so that way I can travel with more cubes, more merch, more everything, plus take up a lot of space. There's an app called Turo, T-U-R-O. It's kind of like Airbnb, but for cars. And that tends to be cheaper than places like Enterprise. And yeah, what you do is you just like, you'll see people who are renting out their car, and then you'll rent the car from Turo. And it has a lot of benefits like Enterprise does, which is nice. There's also flying, which is something that a lot of people starting out won't have to worry about. It's an option I don't recommend for beginners, just because there is a lot of moving pieces with flying to keep track of. I'm used to flying to conventions now, and even if I find it like a lot and tiring, with flying there's luggage costs, and if you're not fortunate enough to be able to use Southwest, because Southwest will allow you to have free checked bags. But I don't live near a Southwest like port, so I do have to pay for my luggage. It went up recently, so it's like $35 for your first one, $45 for your second.
45, which airline are you flying?
Delta and American mostly, that's what I have near me. So it's usually $80 for luggage. It used to be $70, but it went up at the start of the year, so yeah, inflation. And I recommend with suitcases getting one of those sets that you're able to pack into each other if you think you'll be able to sell enough to condense, so like the stacking suitcases. That way it just saves you a little bit of cost on the flight home. And then the next cost is, now that you're at the hotel, or now that you're at the con, is the hotel. So there's a variety of ways to be able to save on the hotel, like booking through the convention's hotel block. The con makes deals with the hotel that gives you a discount versus if you book the room outside of their block. The convention block booking link is usually on the con's website or social media or Discord or wherever the con is like communicating. So make sure you book fast, because sometimes the con block hotels will fill up. Hey Taylor,
Hey,
I'm doing my panel.
Nice.
Yay. You can also share a room. When you vend, I recommend rooming with friends, family, or another vendor. Since you'll have some larger amounts of cash on you rather than attendees you don't know, if possible. That way you don't have to really worry about everything. Vendors kind of know how it is, so they're not gonna like mess with your stuff. And some cons will also have room share channels or room share like on their Discords or room share Facebook groups, so you can kind of find room shares that way. Colossal Con has that, and you can kind of like chat with people and see if there's someone you want to room with beforehand. I usually, when I go to hotels, get a room to myself because I can keep weird hours sewing very late, so that way I'm not like keeping anyone awake. Every once in a while, you will have a bad con roommate. You want to make sure everyone is respectful. Usually it's fine, but every once in a while you will have a bad roommate experience. I had a roommate once that hadn't showered in a very extended, long period of time, and in the tiny hotel room, that was not fun. And it was an awkward situation. I was kind of too awkward to really say anything. So I just went to the Bath and Body Works, got the room spray, and I just like sprayed my pillow, sprayed my shirt, and it kind of helped mask the scent a little bit. So, you know, when you are rooming with roommates, there are creative solutions. There are creative things you'll probably have to do. It's just dealing with another person in another small amount of space. And also, if you want to bring some of those air sprays on the plane, Plane traveling, all liquids must be 3 ounces or less. Also, another creative solution, if the hotel curtains will not close all the way and you want to sleep in a little bit before the vendor hall opens, if you get the little hangers of the clips and you just clip the curtains closed, there you go, no more light in your face. You can also use sites like booking.com or Airbnb to hunt for nearby hotels and rooms that are much cheaper, and you with those you'll probably have to drive in and out each day versus like the connected con hotel when they have them. This one has a shuttle that goes back and forth, which is really nice. Helps save on like an Uber or Lyft. And also, if you fly to a con, you will generally either rent a car or have to Uber or Lyft from the airport. And the Ubers or Lyfts from the airport are much more expensive. I usually end up having to get an Uber XL just to make sure I have space enough for all my luggage and everything. And the next unavoidable cost is food. A lot of artists don't count food in their like actual cost, just because when we're at cons, a lot of us just like splurge. We try some of the local cuisine, we try some of the like the local places. Also, DoorDash can be a cost, especially if you realize like, crap, I forgot my toothpaste. You can DoorDash from like convenience stores. You can do the Shipped app to do Target runs and things like that. I usually do that for water and coffee as well, so that way I can just have it in my fridge and save a little money at the convention.
Sorry to invade on you, but I will say food is a major cost if that's what you're worried about.
Yes, food is a major cost, but there are ways to get it down, especially if you take advantage of like the hotel microwave.
Yeah. I spent a total of $45 at Trotcon last week, and that was all on gas to get there and back.
Oh wow.
It would have been over $100 if I included food, hotel stay, any vendor hall stuff that I got. But I managed to get all of that somehow free.
That's awesome. Heck yeah.
As a person that travels for work, there is ways to keep everything food down to like $40 a day.
Yes, it is absolutely possible.
And fast food is not the way to do it.
No, it's not. Not DoorDash either. I splurge a bit on food. That's like, I don't buy much in the vendor hall. I buy food. I like trying whatever local places are around. But yeah, if you want to save money on food, you can always get like sandwich stuff, especially most hotels will have a little fridge. Some will have a microwave. A lot of hotels did away with microwaves during COVID and just have like one communal microwave, but still you can use that for like ramen, different types of food like that. And it's better to have water on hand than none. So it's good to save money with a reusable bottle, but if it's easier for you just to have a lot of water on hand, you can buy one of the big packs of water.
One more thing, hotels, if they have a complimentary breakfast, they have wrapped food. Grab that and keep that for lunch.
That's actually what I wrote on here. A lot of times, if there's a continental breakfast, take advantage. Wrap up those bagels and muffins, shove them in your bag. That will be a great snack later.
I might have 3 muffins back.
Do absolutely eat food. Like, even if it's just a snack or something, make sure you have something on you to eat, because that'll be one of the things that'll quickly get you like lightheaded, is if you don't have any food on hand. So make sure you eat, make sure you drink your water, stay hydrated. A lot of cons, if you don't have a table helper, they'll have staff that'll walk around, and you can even ask them to refill your bottle. That's been really helpful at like Everfree and a few other cons where I've been by myself. And also, don't be afraid to just cover your table real quick, run and go grab some run or go to the bathroom. You can absolutely do that. No con will fault you for that. So those are the big costs. Those are the big, major, unavoidable costs. There's some other little things, of course, too. And also, every con you will forget something. It just happens. You'll forget a hairbrush or a toothpaste. Sometimes the hotel will even have toothbrush and toothpaste available for you just to like ask for, and they'll give you like a little free tiny one. So it never hurts to ask. And also, a lot of hotels will have the little convenience store areas. This time, the thing I forgot was my iPhone charger. So I had to go to the hotel's like little convenience store and grab one from it. So I don't have any visuals, of course, because we're doing this little impromptu thing. But some of the costs that we're going to now segue into other costs, which are going to go into supplies and setup section. These two kind of go hand in hand. And this is also the more exciting part, because it's where you're kind of figuring out your display. Most conventions, you will have a 6-foot by 2-foot table. There's a few lucky cons that you get the like legendary 8-foot table. Trotcon has those in the vendor hall, and it's like, oh, that's so nice. But majority of them are the 6-foot, and then there's like MagFest and Katsucon, which has 6 foot by 3 foot. So you got a very deep table. It's very strange. So I always plan for 6 foot setups when I buy my supplies, and then just make sure that they can expand to 8 feet. So the very first supply most people will look for is a tablecloth, because this is really important. It is the base of your color theme. So I recommend picking a color palette you want associated with you and whatever name you make for your artist self or your brand or your business. It can be anything. Mine is Hibiscus Stitch. There's a lot of other different names. There's like the Spirit Designs, Line Around Sewing, Molcana, just so many different business names. And then the tablecloth really sets like the base of your theme. For me at PonyCons, I have a lavender because it matches my pony Sona. And then at all the other cons, I have a lime green tablecloth because I really like how it stands out with my pink cubes, because I can use the pink cubes for both since it matches my pony colors. But for you, you might want like a blue tablecloth. You might want a like pink tablecloth. I just recommend having your tablecloth match whatever banner that you use, whatever logo that you use. So the tablecloth will also help if you don't have too much, like if you're just starting out. It keeps your table from looking empty because there's color and there's interest. You don't have to immediately go and find a fancy tablecloth. A lot of beginners will just use disposable ones from like Walmart or Hobby Lobby or Dollar Tree. Usually those are like $1. So that's a nice way to just like try out different colors, see what you want, save on that. You can also use, a lot of people will use a top sheet, like the flat sheet from a sheet set. You can go to Walmart and find those for like $5, $10. So that way you don't have to spend something super expensive. You can also go to Goodwill and just like find top sheets there. I absolutely wash it first, but you can find some top sheets there. It doesn't have to be expensive. You can start cheap, but that way it just gives you like something nice, something new to try. I used a flat sheet when I first started, and now I have a nicer tablecloth that I like bought. But yeah, that works perfectly. Heck, some people still use those. I still use disposable tablecloths sometimes if I run out of room in my suitcase. And I know someone that uses a fabric shower curtain because it had a nice pattern on it that like fit their theme. The fanciest thing you might want to go for, and probably the biggest splurge you want to go for, and is one of the bigger costs, is your banner. This will have your like logo on it, your name on it, your whatever you want on it. Mine has like my pony on it. I recently redid one and it has like my little red panda character on it and then Hibiscus Stitch. It can be anything. Table runners can be a little more expensive. There's the 2 to 3 foot one that's just draped over. There's the 4 to 5 foot one, which is the one that I have, and it covers most of the table. Those can be a little pricey. They usually run you like $100 to $300, and you can just go to like Vistaprint to do those. There's also Rewind Studios, REWYND. They're an artist-owned print-on-demand service, and they will help. You'll have to design your own pattern, or your own way you want your tablecloth to look and everything using your art program, but those are extremely good quality. Vistaprint has like a program you can kind of fiddle with and move things around and everything, so that's a little beginner-friendly if you're not super used to different art programs. You can also just get a vinyl banner, like the rolled ones. Those are usually decently inexpensive. I think they're like $40 to $60 on average, depending on your size. And you can get those with like the little metal grommets and tie them to your table. You can use, in the beginning, I used tape on them to tape them to my table. So there's a lot of different options. There's also local resources for like the vinyl printing. A lot of places will have local shops for that. And for my very first convention, I got a banner printed at Walgreens. It was just paper. It was super cheap because my dad worked there. So I think it was like $15. So it's just anything. It can be literally anything, but just some way that people can like identify you and identify your name, and it'll help give your table a little personality and stand out. So those two are the most important things to nail down the vibe of your booth. So now it's time to figure out how to display your things that you're making. If you're a print artist, you may want to spring for a photo stand that you can hang your prints off of behind you. Though there's many different ways to hang your prints from the photo stand as well. I'm not a print artist, so I might not be the best one to give advice on this particular thing. Some artists will use the blue tape on the back of the prints and then hang them up. My favorite way I've seen people do it is to either laminate or sleeve each of the prints and use the metal rings to like have them all hanging down, because Usually every convention, someone's print stand falls over, and so with those, it's easy just to clip them back up there, and it's not a big deal. And then some people will also make, like from Home Depot, pipes and everything. They'll make their own like stand. They'll put clamps on the table with a metal rod sticking up, and then they'll fix the pipes over that, so that way they'll have their prints going like all the way around their table. That is really popular in a lot of European cons, because a lot of European cons, your stuff has to be attached to your table versus behind you. And the most versatile is those cube storage shelves, which if you go in the vendor hall, you will see a ton of people using those cube storage shelves. I have pink ones, I also have white wire ones. These are pretty much the bread and butter of convention artists because they compact down in your suitcase and you can do so many different things with them. There's so many different ways to use the cubes to help display your products. You can use them for prints, stickers, enamel pins, plushies, anything, pillows. There's plastic ones like I have, which are the pink ones. You'll see a lot of them. There's blues, there's blacks down there. Those are really light and easier to travel with, especially if you're flying because they don't weigh as much. And also they help you give like a solid color to something to help it have a background. And then there's also wire cubes, which are the easiest to find in brick and mortar stores. If you have the plastic cubes, a lot of times, yeah, I'm doing an impromptu.
I love this. It's brilliant.
Right? So the wire cubes are easier to find in like brick and mortar, Walmart, Kmart stores. Are Kmart's even still around? Target, there we go. Target will have them.
I haven't seen Kmart in Ohio since I was like 10.
Right? Yeah, it's just, I haven't seen one since I was a kid either.
One in Minneapolis.
Like a couple years ago.
And during back to school time, the cubes are like primo dorm room furniture pieces, so they're very easy to find and usually on a decent sale too. With the wire cubes, they are easier to hang things off of, but they don't have like the solid color backing, so sometimes it can be a little like distracting to see your stuff on it, but I use a combination of the two cubes to do my display. Also, one thing you definitely want is clamps, like the big, like they look like a clothespin. You just like push them, put them on your table, clamp it down. That way your display is nice and sturdy. It is not going anywhere. Because I was at a local Comic-Con. It was right after Deltarune came out in 2018. And so I had made plush of each of the main characters and I just had them on display at like, you can buy these on my Etsy. And someone came by and she saw the Lancer plush and then she just wheeled back and punched it as hard as she could. And like, my display shook a little bit and some of the plush fell off the shelves, but like my display stayed because of the clamps. I was just like, I was not sure what to do because what do you do when someone punches your booth? And so like her friend walked by and helped me pick up all the plushies, and then she just walks away and saying, but he's a bad boy. And I'm just like, okay. You meet all types at conventions. Hopefully no one will punch your booth, and don't punch other people's booths, but sometimes someone will lean on it, sometimes someone will like reach up and knock it a little bit. The clamps help keep it in place. I always have a clamp on either side of it, that way it's nice and sturdy, and then I usually hang my trash bag off of the clamp. But yeah, I definitely recommend clamps. You can find them at Home Depot, Lowe's, any type of hardware store. Also, I have also bought some at Walmart in a pinch if I've like forgotten to bring mine. Also, don't forget all the little things you may need, like clips, paper for price signs, markers for making price signs or marking things down for Sunday sales if you want to do that. You might need a printer to help print your price signs if you want to make little nice fancy ones. Or you can use a printer service like Office Depot will sometimes print out the price signs for you. Just be careful with Office Depot because sometimes they get weird about printing anything that looks like it could be an IP, even if it's your like little original mascot character. They might like call you and be, hey, we can't print this, and you have to like have that conversation with them. There's always some little weird thing you don't think about with conventions. If you do prints, you will need the clear protective sleeves to put those prints in, so that way people can like make sure their prints are safe and nothing's gonna rub up against it. If you have stubborn cubes, you might need to get a small little mallet to help bang the connector pieces in place. Zip ties can help support any unwieldy cubes, or like if there's some areas of like stress, you can use zip ties to make sure that stays together. A power brick is also another thing I recommend to keep your phone and other things charged, like your card reader. And there's so many other little things that will be just dependent on what type of display you do. And so you may also want to bring shopping bags, like especially if you have a lot of physical items, so that way people can put those in there, especially like with bigger plush and everything. Something I do is I usually like save all my plastic bags from like Walmart shopping trips, and then I'll use those at cons just to like recycle a little bit, and also because free. And some states though have laws where you can't use the plastic shopping bags, so be wary of those. There's also different bag services where you can buy bags, like on Amazon. There's websites where you can buy custom printed bags if you want to go that route. So just know the laws of the places you go. A lot of places that have those plastic bag bans, if you're not from that state, have what is called, this is in depth, but a transient vendor law. So like if you are a vendor from another state, you might not have to do the shopping bag thing. I know with Trotcon, if you're from another state, you can still use the plastic shopping bags. So you just have to like kind of be aware. Also, for me, I like to download a list app and then write down there everything that I have to pack, and then check it off as I go. And then for the next con, I just uncheck it and check it again. That way I don't have to forget anything. So that's something you might want to do. Also, always bring a sewing kit just in case I need to fix things up. You may want to get some little decorations to like zhuzh up your display, make it look nice and neat. But make sure you don't go overboard, because I have seen people in the past like get confused about what is display and what is for sale. So there's a nice balance. It's a nice balance between like aesthetic and also like it's too much. So it just takes trial and error. I've done displays that were super like aesthetic. I had like fishnet and like stuff that looked like seaweed because I had a lot of the sea creatures and jellyfish, and it got to be just a little bit much, and like the products got lost in the display. But yeah, just make sure you have fun with it, and make sure it's all trial and error. As you sell, you'll notice what works for you. Business cards are another great thing to have on hand. A lot of people are going to QR code only, where you scan the QR code and it takes you to like their website or their social media that they use the most. I recommend having some business cards on hand, even if you just print them yourselves and cut them out, because sometimes people won't have phones on them or they don't have internet. A lot of the bigger conventions, you cannot get signal, so it's good to have a way that people can still find you and still reach out to you, other than a QR code. And Vistaprint is another good place to get your business cards printed, and they're usually always running a sale. So you can get them there. There's other print services. But yeah, that's pretty much the main one I recommend, especially for starters. I think like you can get 100, 200 business cards for like $10, $15 on sale. You will also want to bring change to when you're selling things. Make sure you bring enough change so that you can break down a few 20s or like 100 in the first like hour of the con, because there will always be someone the first hour like wanting to buy like a $10 item with a $100 bill. So just make sure you have enough change that you can break down some of those bigger bills and still have change for later in the day. I find that 30 to 50% of my sales are cash, and I always recommend having a way to take both cash and card so you don't miss out on sales. For change, I recommend bringing about for small cons, I bring like 100, 50 and 1s, 50 and 5s, because I don't expect too many big purchases. For a bigger con or one that I'm flying to, like this one, I have 200 and change. Usually I have 100 to 75 and 1s, and then I have more 5s and like 3 to 4 10s. Just enough so I can break down the bigger sales. I also recommend finding some sort of money pouch that isn't obvious. Thieves will target money boxes. Money boxes just mean money, so a lot of people don't like using those anymore. You can still use those, but what I use is a pencil pouch. So no one knows really what it is. If it's in my bag, no one's gonna know what it is. I mean, now I'm telling you all this, but and also a lot of people like using things that are on your person, like a money apron with the different pockets, or they like using the fanny pack, like a fanny pack just on you. You can unzip it, get the change out and everything. And those are nice because they're on your person. No one can really take those off of you. In the room, like if you're doing a multiple day con, take out the majority of the bigger bills. Keep a few so that way you can break hundreds, but take out your cash and then like hide it somewhere inconspicuous, like in your suitcase, zip it up. I usually zip mine up with my like undergarments because no one really goes in there. So that's a good place to hide it. And now I told you guys that.
Don't room with us, I guess.
Yeah, right. While we're on this topic real quick, most theft is a crime of opportunity at conventions. a quick grab of something. Like for me, I have the buttons and buckets. I always expect a few of those to go missing every con, like just walking away. But with your booth, you want to have like your bigger dollar items up on the shelves, somewhere where someone can't just like quickly grab something and run. And then when you're like at the end of each day, or when you just set up and you're waiting for the con to start, I always recommend getting like a tablecloth or a sheet or something to clip over your table. It helps prevent those like theft opportunities. With brony cons, most of us know each other, so we trust each other. It's the only cons where I don't really cover up my booth. I definitely recommend having something to cover up your booth when you're not there. It helps deter a lot of theft. Also, when people come by your table to look at your things, just give them a simple greeting like, hello, how are you today? Or just like, welcome in. You can kind of tell looking at someone if they want to interact more or not. So just a quick saying like, good morning, or something is kind of non-committal. If they look like they want to chat, you can say like, how are you today? And start a conversation. At my first anime week in Atlanta in 2016, I was all set up, ready to go. The con had just opened for the day. Very first person of the day walks up and they are looking at this one plush and they're acting kind of strange, and I'm like, okay. So I'm keeping an eye on them. And then the second someone else walked by and I said hello to them, they run off with it. And I just like leaned around my booth because I was by myself, and I was like, did you want to buy that? And then they're still like walking fast, and I just shout, you didn't pay for that? And then when I said that, it scared them, so they dropped it and just ran. So I got it back, but that does happen. There will be those people. It's very rare. I find like the other than like the little grab and goes from the buttons, I find like people actually stealing the plush. It's only happened like a handful of times, maybe like 3 or 4 in the like 10 years I've been doing this. So it's not very common. Most con people have common sense, but just want to make sure you prevent any potential issues. We have the card reader. So back to the money, you want to make sure you have a way to also take card, because the majority of your sales will be card. I've only ever used Square, so I don't have any experience with others like the PayPal reader and others out there, but I highly recommend Square. I've been using them since 2015, and when you sign up, they will usually send you a little fob to plug into your phone to take swipe cards. I also recommend getting the little Square reader. I don't have visuals, but it's like a little Square reader. It's usually like $50, $60. I'm not sure if it's gone up or not, but it can take the insert chip cards. It can also take like the tap from the Apple phone or the tap cards. It's definitely a good investment to have. That way you can take different types of payments. Some people will just have an Apple Watch on them and you can hold it up and they can tap the watch to it. And that is it's a very basic way to take payments, but it'll get you everything that you need. And I always recommend still keeping that little fob swiper with you, because every once in a while you will have someone using a gift card that doesn't have a chip, like an old Visa gift card or something, and then that way you can slide it. Some people's chips are broken, so definitely have different ways to take payments with a card. I currently use a Square terminal. I don't recommend that for beginners just because it's $300 up front. It's a big like investment, and it's usually something you only want if you're doing more conventions. It's a great way to be able to allow people to do tips easier, and also because out on your table people can kind of see the taxes with the item purchases and everything, so that way it's all laid out for them. Also make sure you charge your taxes. I can't give out any real tax advice because I am not a tax expert and I don't feel comfortable giving that sort of advice. But yeah, just make sure you look up your state's tax laws. If you're selling in another state, make sure you look up their tax laws. If you're on any of the vendor chats, Pony vendor chat, Artist Alley vendor chats, you can usually ask them and someone will know and someone will have experience with that, and it helps make it a lot easier. Someone has a phone number of someone for you to call. But if you want, you can also take payments using Venmo or PayPal. I have that option available if people want to PayPal or Venmo me something, but it's usually pretty rare. Most people just want to do card or cash. A cool thing with the Square Reader, so I'll share another quick story of one of my first conventions. So at my second con ever, I sold a pair of ears and a tail to a mom for her kid for, I believe it was just $25. It was just a small amount of money. And they left happy, they went on their way, the day moved on, my friend was hanging out with me at my table, and then the mom comes by, just furious, and she said that I had charged her card $900, and she wanted a refund. And I was like flabbergasted. I'm new to this, I don't know what to do, but luckily my friend had Square experience. So he, let me take a real quick drink. Hydration time. Yeah, hydrate everyone. My friend helped me and opened my app and showed where I charged her $25. And even if I refunded her, I could only refund her what I charged her. There was no $900 charges. I had made it all that day. And then she said, look at this. Is this not your shop name right there? And she was holding up the phone. And you could see on there with the receipt, it said the business name. And the business name was something to do with like trading cards. So definitely not me. I was able to, Square allows you the option to resend receipts even after you've already sent them. Or like, if someone declines a receipt, you can go back in there and like email them their receipt. So I texted her the receipt and showed her where it said like hibiscus stitch, $25. And then we all noticed the kid is kind of like hiding behind the mom. We're like, oh. The mom kind of understood at this point that like we were not the problem, but she was like too angry. So she just said whatever, grabbed the tails and ear and then like took off. But yeah, Square can really help save your hide if something like that happens. And if something like that happens, don't worry. A lot of people who are angry just are not mad at you. They're mad at the situation. Sometimes you just have to hear them out, let them get their vent out, and then you can help them solve the problem. It'll happen. Just keep calm. Don't lose your cool. Just talk it out one step at a time. And now I know I've given you guys a lot of information about the lead up to selling day. It's a lot to prepare for the convention, but let's take a moment to talk about how to get into that convention. So there are 4 main ways to get into the convention, which are the application processes. So there's the simple way where you pay for your spot and you're in. That's it. This is a lot of Comic Cons and autograph mills. You just go in, see if there's any tables left. Some of them will even have where you pick your table. You pay, you're good to go. They don't have an application process or anything because they're autograph mill cons. Then there's first come, first serve. And it's exactly what it sounds like. The con will open up vendor slots, usually like however many the con has. It can be anywhere from like 25 to 200. And it's basically a free-for-all. It's whoever applies first, that's who gets in. And you better have good internet. Some of them will fill up in like 2-3 minutes. I know MagFest used to do that, where they would first come, first serve jury applications, and then they juried down to like 100 of those. It was crazy. Like they would close up in 3 minutes. That was stressful. But yeah, a lot of cons will do that. Teco in Pennsylvania will do that. It's not as common anymore, but yeah, first come, first serve is one of the more stressful ones. Although if it's a smaller local con, a lot of times there's not that much of a rush. Just whoever comes in and applies, it's a lot easier. And then there's also jury, which is the most common. It's where you apply for a con with your portfolio, and then the convention's team of judges will go through and find artists who are best fit for the show, and it's send out acceptances to those artists. And then the last one, that's the acceptances, is lottery, which is exactly what it sounds like. You apply and then they put everyone into a pool together and then they pull their acceptances from that. And then sometimes lotteries will also do where they will lottery down to different spots. So like they'll jury you in the fact of like saying, oh, you make plushies, you make art, you make prints, separate you into the categories, and then pull lottery from those categories. To apply to these conventions, a lot of the times you will need a portfolio. So most cons will ask for that, and you can use like your Etsy or your shop or your Instagram or DeviantArt. You can use these different things, but I always recommend making like a free website, like on webs.com or Weebly or whatever, and then having your like gallery of images there. And a lot of cons will also ask for table examples. You can set up a mock table in your house. You can do a Photoshop where you do like different things to show what your setup will look like. You can draw it out if you haven't done one yet. They just want to see kind of what your display will look like. That's all about, just to see like how you'll fit in with everyone else. And then once you do your first con, then you'll have an actual like photo display set up that you can put on those portfolios. For me, I also make different portfolios for the different conventions. I can't show you because I don't have visuals, but for the different conventions, I'll do like, I have my anime portfolio, my PonyCon portfolio, my FurryCon portfolio, just so I can make sure for each of those con types, I have what they want to see. So hopefully that will give you an idea kind of like what to do with yours. You can do a DeviantArt gallery. I recommend making the own gallery. If you do Etsy, some people put their shop on vacation mode. If you do that, the con won't be able to see your items at all. So they'll just reject you for that. So that's just something to be aware of with your Etsy shop. And then you just hit submit, and then it's the waiting game, the very anxious waiting game to see if you get in or not. Some cons will come back right away. Some will give you like a period of time when they expect acceptances. Like KatsuCon will get like 2,000 applications for 250 spots. So usually it's a few months to hear back from them just because there's so much to go through. And then most cons will send acceptance, waitlist, and rejections. Rejections just mean exactly what it sounds like. Acceptance, it means you're in. And then waitlist usually means if someone on that is accepted decides not to do the con, they'll pull from the waitlist. So if you find out that you're not going to be able to do a convention, just let the con staff know as soon as possible, and that way some other artists can get in. And I've gotten in off the wait list for a few cons. It's always a nice, pleasant surprise. And some cons, especially if it's a local one, if you show up like that day, some cons will have where if any unclaimed spots after like noon or 1, whatever time it is, you can see the rules on their website. You can purchase any unclaimed tables. So that's another way to kind of like get in with a local con. Oh. All right.
But base works.
Right?
Question.
All right, so I'm just gonna, yes, what's up?
So in your mindset, if FurryCon and a PonyCon happen in the same weekend,
I'd go to the PonyCon for me personally.
because Denver, and I'm from Denver, Denver and Everfree are the same weekend.
Everfree, hands down, I would go to Everfree over Denver. Nothing against Denver, just Everfree for me is much better experience. Plus, I like PonyCons the most, so hands down. Sometimes you can send like a helper to go do the other con for you. Some cons don't allow proxies, which is someone who isn't you selling your stuff. Some cons do, but that's also not something beginners really need to worry too much about. That's something like after you've built up a lot of different merch.
Question.
Yes.
Something I've always wondered about vendors joining the cons. How do you, especially you said like at the beginning, you're most expecting people to be doing it on your own as a beginner, but how do you balance selling your stuff at the same time actually going to panels and enjoying the convention?
Poorly. No. What I do is for me at PonyCons, I know that Friday is my big selling day as a vendor. For print artists, it might be Saturday. So if I'm wanting to like do a panel as well, I'll make sure the panels are not during those times where I know I'm going to be taking the most traffic. And so like Saturdays for me are usually the slowest days, so I make sure those are the days that are my panel stacked. But if there's a panel you really want to go to, you can just put the tablecloth over your booth or have a friend watch it and then go watch the panel. It's all just about balancing. You want to make sure you have fun at the con too. And I will start wrapping up now, but for just real quick, I'll give you some basic merch ideas of things you can do. For a lot of people, there's prints. Lately, the smaller prints, like the postcard size, have been selling really well. A lot of people like those because they're smaller, they're easier to transport, especially if you're flying to a con. Stickers is another good one. There's a lot of different sticker printing services. A quick Google search will find you a ton of them. There's also different ones on Etsy where you can find that they do like die cut sticker services. On Facebook, you'll see ads for some of them. I use Bunnies and Cream. They're not the easiest to get a hold of those, so I can't say I recommend them too super much, but there's also a lot of artist-run sticker services, like Le Spirit Designs will do like where they print stickers and everything. But yeah, stickers are very helpful. A lot of people really like the little items that also have a use outside of the convention, so like stickers, buttons, shirts, different things like that. Buttons is another easy one to make. You can buy a button maker. I know it's a little bit upfront, but the Takray $300 button maker, they're perfect. Like I've been using mine for 8 years. Afro Thunder, another pony vendor, has used theirs for 15 years. And other than a little oil, we have not needed to change it out. We have been using the same machine for years. Takray is a really good button maker brand. Anything else you get is just like biding time until you get Takray. You can also find places, where you can have buttons made for you too. What were you gonna say?
Can you spell that?
Yes, absolutely. It's TECRE. And then buttonboyinc.com is where I get my button supplies from. I usually get 1,000 at a time. For 1,000 button parts, it's $100. And they are like super fast with shipping. One time I put my zip code in wrong. They called me and said, hey, I noticed your zip code's wrong. What's your correct zip code? So I gave it to them, and then I literally got the shipping notification like maybe 10 minutes after that phone call. They ship like sometimes even the same day. They are on it. Like buttons are a very good way to make different little products and some little lower dollar products. And then there's also acrylic keychains. That's another one that you might want to look into that's not as expensive to do. There's a lot of different acrylic keychain makers like Chili Pig, Zap Creatives, and that's with 2 Z's, ZZAP Creatives, and Vograce is another one, VOGRACE. Those will all have ways to do acrylic keychains, and with acrylic keychains, it's your image between 2 pieces of acrylic. Do I have any? Oh, I got my Rainbow Dash. This is an acrylic keychain. And a lot of people make those. They're very popular. And those are they're a little pricier than buttons and stickers, but they're one of the more affordable options for merchandise. And then, of course, as you get into it, there's enamel pins. You can manufacture plush and Eda bags. Those are very hard to do. That's like, you've been doing this for years. You know this is what you want to do. There's all types of different things that you can do, but the stickers, acrylic keychains, prints, and buttons are like the main merchandise types for print artists. And if you're a plush artist, you just make your thing, do your thing, make your plushies.
Question.
Yes.
Are you going to Cyberfest?
I don't know yet. They haven't opened up applications, but I'm hoping.
They'll probably open up 2 weeks beforehand.
Probably. And the last thing I will go over, other than saying everyone has trouble pricing their items. So if you have trouble pricing your items, do not worry. That is the struggle for literally every single artist, like what yours are worth. If you have questions like, what should I charge for these items? If you look at other people's displays and see kind of what they're charging for theirs, you want to kind of be in that range, because like all artists are pretty much not like, they're not enemies. They're like your coworkers, your associates, your friends. They're not really competitors. It's not helpful to think of them like that. So always feel free to talk to them, ask them advice, look at what everyone is charging across the board for their acrylic keychains. So if you see like $10, $12, $15, you can kind of price yours in that range. So that way you make sure you're getting your worth and also not undercharging other people and also not undercharging yourself. One of the last things I'll say is that mystery bags are a great way to get rid of things that don't sell, because sometimes you will make something that just does not sell. It's not popular. People just don't want it. Usually I'll go through my button buckets after every con and see like, oh, this one's bad. That's why this one didn't sell. This one's not great. And then I'll do a mystery bag where I make a little plush for it, and then I put a few of those buttons in there. And then usually I do like some stickers or candy or something, just something little. Just make sure it's a mystery bag that if you got it, you would not be disappointed with it. But yeah, mystery bags are a great way to get rid of unsold merch. People love gachapons. They love gumball machines. They love getting the little blind bags and seeing what thing they got. So mystery bags are kind of the same way. And we'll close out by saying, for profits, what does a good con look like? That is, of course, different for every single person, every art type, every con type. And for some people, profits are not money. It is the connections they make. It's the experience that they're getting. It's being able to do like panels and everything. Like for me, what's a good Trotcon is not going to be the same as what's a good Everfree. With plush, I have costs to make them, like the fabric, the thread, the transportation costs and everything, and that all goes into the price. And so for me, I want to make back my costs usually on day one and then make some profit, just enough so I can pay like my bills and make sure my food is covered and make sure that I'm able to do the next con. But for you, the profit might just be like having enough to have a nice dinner at the end of it. It's going to be different for every single person. And when you first start, you're not going to make like the biggest profit. That'll come with time, with experience and seeing what works. As you get more merchandise, as you get more art, more plushies, more whatever you have, that'll come with it. Because like my first con, I did 800, and I think my second one I did 1,500. So it just went up. It went up and up and up as I learned more of like what people want. You kind of get an idea of like where people are looking. A lot of people will look at like the first 2 or 3 shelves, but some people won't look down. Some people have trouble looking up. I like putting my big plushies up top, so that way like it kind of draws people's eyes upwards. But a lot of people are looking just at those first few shelves. And of course, with convention types, every day we'll see different traffic. So if you do bad, like if it's Friday and you're not doing so good, don't panic. Saturday is the day that everyone has off of work, and that's usually going to be the day that's going to be bigger, especially like anime cons. And then different merch types, like plushie artists at pony cons usually have Friday as their big day, because people know those things are limited. They want to grab them and make sure they get the ones they want. And then for Saturday, usually that's when print artists and keychain artists and everything have their biggest days, because that's when people are looking for those items. And then on Sunday, you'll have people looking to spend the last of their money. A lot of people will run Sunday sales. You don't have to, but if you want, like if you know something isn't selling well, you can mark it down a bit. Or for me, sometimes I just don't want to fly back with everything, so I'll mark some things down. And that's some people will look around for those Sunday sales, look around to spend their last few dollars. When you first start, just focus on learning and covering your costs. Just focus on like experiences and seeing like, oh, okay, this didn't work out well, this will work out well. And then the money will come as you learn more things, as you stick with it, as you grow. And some people just want to have a good time. They just want to be able to cover the cost for the convention and have like a way to talk to people. And that's totally fine too. All that matters is that you are having a good time. One of the best parts of the convention experience is just meeting people who love your art, meeting people who want to buy your art, like putting a face to a name if you've talked to someone online on like a Discord chat or something. That's the best part, just getting to talk to people. I love listening to people just tell me different things. And I like doing panels because it makes people feel a lot comfortable to like tell me their stories and ask for advice and everything. And I love hearing that. I love helping people with what I can by telling them what I've learned. And of course, hearing what I'm saying and actually being there at the table, two different things. Like you learn way more from doing it and making your mistakes than you will just like hearing someone talk about it. But I really hope that something that I have said today has really like helped you guys or given you guys at least an idea where to start looking, where to start going. Also, you will have con nightmares. They'll come for you before every convention, no matter how long you've been doing it. You will have dreams about like, oh gosh, I forgot all of my products. Oh gosh, the plane just like spontaneously combusted. It's not there anymore. They will come. They will be ridiculous and they will come for you. But don't worry, this is just your brain saying like, okay, now we're prepared for this unusual circumstance, so we're good now. But yeah, did anyone have any other questions before we wrap up this weird impromptu panel? Yes, what's up?
I got here late. Why were you outside?
The panel room was not open, and they didn't open it for a long time. So I'm like, there's people here wanting to see my panel. So I'm like, let's go. Let's just do it right here. Let's go. This is how conventions go. So that's why we're outside. Yeah, we just pulled up chairs, and now here we are.
Also, it's cold in there.
Yes, it's freezing in there.
I mean, it's cold here too.
It's not as cold as in there.
Yeah.
Really cold.
Gosh, I was doing a panel there yesterday, shivering. Yeah, what's up?
You don't have to answer this, but what's your biggest con and what year to date in sales?
Surprisingly, okay, so the last BronyCon was the best one for the longest time, obviously. And then surprisingly, Everfree 2021 beat it. And I'm still trying to beat that Everfree 2021 total. It was the first BronyCon back from the pandemic, and everyone was like, Everfree 2021, that's been my best one. Everfree every year has pretty much been my best convention. Everfree and MagFest or KatsuCon, if I can get into those. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, what's up?
Do you price differently based on what con you're at, or like
I
what area?
actually do. A lot of people don't. They'll keep their prices the same, but I do. Like if I'm doing a local con and it's a smaller one, like Trotcon is one of the ones that's smaller, I might price my like my jellyfish keychains at like $10. But if I'm doing like a big, huge anime con, I might boost that up to like $12. So that's not really me like charging them more. It's charging the local con with less people less. Just that way more people can get a chance to have it. A lot of people don't do it, but I have the benefit of being able to do it with like my plushies and everything. And then if I'm doing like a smaller con, I'll make smaller plushies. Like Trotcon was right after Anthrocon, so I didn't have too much time to prepare. So I just made some beanies. For Sequestria Fest, that's like a small 300 person con. I don't make any of my big ponies for that one. I just make the beanies because I know that's what like people have the budget for. So I kind of like thankfully with Plush I have the benefit of like kind of seeing what works best. And then you had a question.
One thing I want to try to sell is either going to be small and fragile or big and fragile.
Yeah.
Any tips on how to
So one
deal
thing
with
you
stuff
can
like
do,
that?
I've had that happen a few times where like someone has asked me if I can ship it back for them because they don't have a way to safely transport it. So that's one thing you can do. You can offer like shipping services, like if they want to like pay a little bit of a fee and you ship to them. Another thing is just have a bunch of bubble wrap and have your boxes with you so you can like put it in there and make sure that it's nice and safe. And then also there is a level of, sometimes they're just gonna drop it and it's just gonna break. I've had people, even with my plushies, like, they'll take the plush and then they'll grab it and start winging it around and everything, and I'm just like, what can you do? So yeah, that's the best thing to do. Bring some glue, make sure you can glue it back into place, but just make sure you have like your bubble wrap, your boxes. Do the best you can do, so then if it breaks, it is on them.
My friend.
Are you a
did
breaker?
that.
All right, did anyone have any other questions?
Are you still selling today?
I am. I'm actually going to head over to the vendor hall after this is over. So yeah, if any of you have any questions while I'm there, feel free to come over and ask me. I'll be happy to talk to you. I'll be there all day today because I don't have any other panels. So yeah, all right. Thank you guys so much. This was fun and impromptu. Yeah, yeah.